Welcome back, everybody, to the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. Again, it's September 30th, 2017, and we've got about 39 minutes left on the show, and 29 of those minutes we're going to be roundtable talking it about flag burning, anthem kneeling, and government surplus going to law enforcement. And I've got with me Trey Wallace, retired police chief Randy Dixon, attorney extraordinaire Benton Ross Watson, and retired Green Beret Mark Boer, and myself. And we're going to be talking about this thing, and it's an open forum. The number's 254-697-6633. Now's your opportunity. If you got a bee or a gripe or a complaint, this is an opportunity for you to express it to the world. So give us a call.
I feel kind of bad, Matt. We're the only two that don't have any kind of distinguishing feature. Yourself and Trey Wallace, and then we got retired police chief,
no, Trey,
attorney extraordinaire,
you're a board operator. Without you, this doesn't exist. Me, I'm just a schmuck speaking what I'm thinking. So, you know, I'm the one left out of the loop.
But you're from New York, so that's okay, though.
Shh, quiet, man, quiet. You're going to start circling my house before you know it. Come on, bring it on. I'm ready. All right, Mark, why don't you set this off? What's on your mind, Mark?
Well, first off, I got to tell you, Matt, I love Stonies because they keep me happy. And also, I love football. I love football. Folks, I love football. But I love this kind of football. Arsenal. Go Arsenal.
Oh, yeah.
Over in Europe and the rest of the world, Africa especially, they play soccer, which is the original football. They don't use pads, and they don't have to be 300-pound chuckleheads. But, by God, we're talking about the National Football League today. And there's nothing national about them. It's all about corporate money. And these chuckleheads are out there setting the example. And now you know what, people? You know what? We've got high school kids thinking that it's in fashion now to take the knee, and they don't even know what the heck they're even talking about. So thank you, National Football League, for setting a bad example for the rest of the world. If you want to protest, by God, there's so many other ways of doing it. But you're not representing the national anthem. You're not representing the nation. And I think you're a corporate football league, and I'm going to boycott you and anything to do with you. However, on a gentler side, there are some really great NFL players out there who do set an example, like the great man who raised over $5 million for the hurricane relief people, and the people, the Miami teams that are working for the Puerto Rican and the hurricane situation down in Florida. But the league in general, a bunch of mindless morons. They're like sheep. They're following the flock. And by God, I don't like it. I don't like it all when they're influencing the young people of America. Choice, they've got the choice. They've got the right. Chief, by God, you've been representing people's laws and people's rights for a long time. Russ, it's Russ, right?
I've been called a lot worse.
Okay.
A lot worse.
Yeah. Oh my God. It fires me up, man. That's why I love Stoney so much.
Well, like I said in my intro to my section a while ago, I don't have a problem with people expressing their ideas about the protest. But you are right. What's going down now is when you see high schools, when you see junior highs kids taking the knee, man, it's like a domino effect. And I just don't think I don't think that was intended. And I hope that wasn't what was intended. And, you know, I think Ross, in one of his sections, he talked about earlier, the only thing that's going to change the attitude, the prevailing attitude, and is going to make them stand for our national anthem is when Budweiser, when National Car Rental, when all these different companies start pulling their advertisements. And I understand some of them already have. Once again, I don't have a problem with someone protesting, but let's protest something besides our national flag. You know, if they want to protest something the police did, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And one thing that really irritates me, and I don't mind telling you what really irritates me, is here 8-9 months ago, there was 6 Dallas police officers that were killed by a terrorist. It was a terrorist, homegrown terrorist. The NFL would not let the Dallas Cowboys put a sticker on their helmet in memory of those officers.
Sounds like a bunch of communist twinkle toes to me.
It wouldn't let them put a sticker on there. So they said that they don't advertise, they don't get involved in political. But it's okay to let somebody take a knee as political. I just don't understand. Tim Tebow, and you know, Tim Tebow, he couldn't kneel to say a prayer before the game. They forbid him from doing that.
Double standards, man.
It's a double standards, and that's what I don't like.
That's what I was getting at when I was saying there's certain elements, certain places that should be avoided. Your political
right.
or whatever should be outside that arena, because this is like they take God out of school because it's a closed event and they don't want to have any influencing going on. Then get it out of that arena as well, because you got the capture, you got the a major audience viewing your opinions. Now, another comment you made was, I told my sons this. I said, until you're 18, I own you. You're going to do my doctrine. You're going to learn my doctrine. I'm going to try and raise you the best I can so that when you're 18, you go out there and you can make some decent decisions. So my thought process is, for the grade school and high school, until you're 18 and a man, okay, you're going to listen to what I'm telling you, and I'm going to dictate. That's just the way it goes there.
Right.
So you're going to stand, you're going to put your hand on your heart, you're going to do all this kind of stuff, and I don't want to hear your crap. Once you're 18, you can do whatever the hell you want, as long as it's legal.
You know, I think you really hit on it earlier when you're beginning of your statement there, Mark. The people that are doing it, it's fashionable. You know, you're passionate about something, you're on fire. Even if I disagree with it, I'm on board, dude. I like it when people are passionate about something, when they want to stand up and they feel it, and you can tell they feel it. But when they're doing it because everybody else is doing it, what kind of crap is that?
It's mindless. It's like a bunch of sheep.
Seriously, why are you wasting my time?
They have no independence. They got no personal. They've got no independent thought. They're sheep being followed by the people who are in the know and just want to manipulate. And these drones just follow lockstep. All works.
And I know you want to get in here, but I got to interject something real fast.
Oh, I'm not. You go ahead.
The Legends Football League. Everybody check that out. Legends Football League.
Yeah.
Okay. These are some classy ladies who are in a professional football league, and they got on national TV and said, we will not take a knee, because the flag is sacred. And I love that.
They won't take a knee?
They won't take a knee.
That's good.
Yes. Check them out on YouTube, people. The Legends
You can't
Football
see it, but I'm
League.
shaking my head.
Yeah.
All right, hop in here, man.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything that's said. I mean, I think my opinion is that what Reagan said is correct, that we don't have people at the dinner table
Right.
anymore, and the nucleus of a family has broken down, and that has led to so many other things that have broken down in society. And I mean, it's a lot deeper than simply taking a knee. I think that my job as a lawyer is to play devil's advocate and see the other side of the picture. I think that you would have some people say that we're 5 white males here and we have no one representing the black caucus, the black consensus, and its side of the viewpoint. But I also agree that a lot of what's going on is just simply fashionable. I think that a lot of these high school kids don't understand exactly what it is that Kaepernick and maybe some of even the NFL players don't know either. But I know that their standpoint would be, how do we know what they've faced, and the systemic biases that I talk about a lot that go into play that make them fed up. And from their standpoint, they're making a statement that is on national television where everybody can see it because they want that statement and want that message to get out there. Again, we talk about the manner and the method and the way that it's done, right? Maybe we don't agree with that method, but I cannot deny that they have indeed gotten at least some message out, and I think they've gotten a little bit of the message they wanted to convey, maybe more on the end of being disrespectful towards things that ought to be respected, but I think at least some of what they tried to have gotten out there has gotten out there, so at least, you got to give them that.
Well, the fact is, regardless of how they went about it, they've gotten their subject out there in the national consciousness, and it's being discussed. Perfect case in point, we're discussing it. We're discussing the disrespect we see in some of it. We're discussing the First Amendment aspects of it, but it is being discussed, so it's out there. It's not being ignored.
And that's my only complaint, is the disrespect. The cause, sure, I'm all for it. I understand why he kneeled. Whereas you ask 5 out of 10 people, they go, I don't know. So you're going to just follow somebody and you don't know? At least understand what you're doing, and at least have a little bit of respect for those who give you that right to do so.
Yeah, but some of the problems too. You've got a lot of restrictions on local restrictions trying to organize a parade, something like that, a march. Hard to do, right? A lot of times you've got, how are they going to get airtime? Otherwise, you said they could buy it. Okay, this is a consistent routine thing that they could do, right? That's available to everybody that's watching a national. I mean, even if they did those advertisements, who's going to watch it? Everybody's going to be watching the game. when it's on. And so I think they're trying to get this message out here. Again, I don't disagree with anything that's been said, right? But I do think that, you know, there are some problems in society that probably could be fixed, and I think that we all really just need to get along.
Let me say something here. When Copernic did that, 2016, okay, he does it a few times. He does it on his own accord because he just doesn't want to do it. You know, he wasn't making a major issue out of this other than it was for himself, and I understand that. Okay, but then it's brought to his attention, hey, you might want to think about this. It's really disrespectful for the flag. And then all of a sudden now everybody's got a year to think about what's going on and understanding the situation. And he was on camera, and he did have the platform to promote his cause outside of the arena of the NFL. He could have done it. People would have listened. But what they do, they continue to do it in the realm of NFL, in a public environment there where everybody's captured by what they want to put on the TV. They could have taken it to a different venue.
And I want to say this too. I do want to say this. A lot of problems I get. You don't understand. There probably is a problem with systemic bias because I have many black clients, African American clients that are court-appointed cases, a whole lot more than I do Caucasian clients. So there's definitely some sort of problem going on. But the thing about it is, a lot of African Americans that I talk to, right, want the first card they want to play a lot of times is that it's a race situation, that the police officer came after them because they're black. Folks, it's not a race issue a lot of times. Right? We have a ton of laws on the books. There are a ton of regulations. It is easy for anybody to get in trouble, right? And this happens across all races. I have just as many unjust cases go against white folks as I do black folks, Mexicans, whatever. A lot of people are charged with stupid crimes. I come in here and talk to you about it all the time, and I'm even working on two that I said, this is so dumb. I don't understand why the state is being so difficult. And so a lot of times it's not just racially motivated. A lot of times it is the way that our system has grown. Judges are politically bound. Prosecutors are politically bound. A lot of times the police have victims in their ear wanting them to do stuff, then the prosecutors wanting them to go forward. I mean, you've got all kinds of things that come into play, and it's not just. And again, there are a ton of officers that are good people, so I'm not saying that the whole system is crooked. What I'm trying to tell you is there are many prejudices, there are many biases, there are many things that come into play that are not racially motivated, and a lot of the problems that are going on with society, violence between citizen and cop, is not just about black and white.
No,
a lot of white folks get shot too that are innocent. That happens across all spectrums, and police officers a lot of times maybe shouldn't be police officers, maybe they're hot-headed, or sometimes they get into circumstances that they don't know how to handle properly. And something just goes wrong, and maybe they just felt like this person was violent or they had a bad day.
Well, let me follow up with that. I know, Chief, you want to get in on this, but let me follow up with that. It may not be about race, but it's about privilege. It's about privilege. And let me tell you about privilege. Colin Kaepernick, quarterback for San Francisco. Go figure, right? Okay. July of 2011, he signed a 4-year contract for $5.2 million. That sounds kind of privileged to me. June 2014, he signed a 6-year contract for $114 million. That's a little bit more privileged than you and me. And that's $119 million divided by 10 years, which means he gets an annual salary of $11.9 per year. $1 million. That sounds pretty privileged to me, but no, wait, there's more. Matthew Stafford, Detroit Lions, $27 million. We got the average ticket. Okay, let's stop right there. I could ramble on and on about that. But all these NFL jocks, they're privileged. So they get out there and they get to set the example of how to be stupid. All right? Oh, they've got freedom of speech. Yeah, so do I. I could talk a lot about some crazy stuff going on in this world. A lot of people don't want to hear about it. But they've got the right, so we got to respect that right. And you know what else? And you do a lot of arguing. But I heard on, I think it was Channel 25, they did an editorial, and they mentioned that some people have forgotten the art of disagreement. Being able to listen both ways. Because if you're talking, then if we're both talking, I can't be listening. Right. So we have to listen to each other and respect each other's point of view. I get that. I get a little fired up sometimes, and I respect you for being able to do that.
Is there your view and their view, and then the view in the middle, which is respectable by both sides? There should be. The one thing in the middle I'm talking about is the flag and what it represents, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, documents that are, in my opinion, from the one up above, okay? We couldn't have had it without great men doing it, great people doing it, and all that kind of stuff. That's the middle line. And that allows us to have your opinion, allows him to have his opinion, allows me to have my opinion. But we got to agree and learn that our opinion, our freedom of opinion, comes from a source, and that's that protected, blessed thing we've got, Constitution, flag, the whole works.
And that is bigger than all of it. So those things are the peak, the top of that triangle.
Well, there's somebody right above that. We all know who that is, but I'm not going to get.
Gandhi.
I want to throw this in as well. You know, I've got 44 years in law enforcement. I never stopped a car based on the color of the driver. I never stopped a person on the color of the person. You know, everything I ever did in my career, and I'm not saying everybody's like that, but everything I did in my career was based on the facts that were presented to me at the time to try to either solve a crime or someone who was violating the law. You know, and I'm sure there are probably officers out there that are bad. There's probably doctors that are bad, lawyers that are bad. There's airline pilots that are bad. Everybody has to deal with that, but it's such a small population. Now, let's go back to what they're protesting for. They're protesting for inequality. Let me ask you this, and I'm just throwing this out there. What would y'all think? Let's say this Sunday, when the national anthem plays, every single soldier, every single police officer, state trooper, firefighter got down on one knee while the national anthem was played. What do you think would happen? What do you think? What do you think the cry from the public would be for that?
First thing, Chief, would be a true soldier, a true fireman, police officer
Wouldn't do it. That's right.
That's all I'll say.
Hypothetically, let's say they did. What do you think the public would do then? There would be such an outcry. Fire them. Get rid of them. And some of them would get fired for doing that. Because they don't have a Budweiser contract.
But they're off duty, Chief. They're off duty.
Yeah, but that brings in the conversation I had with Attorney Extraordinary Benton Ross Watson as to whether or not their freedom of speech can be stamped on if they're employed, and the employer doesn't want that to happen. So, I mean, this is really a mess.
Yeah, it gets to be a mess. So, I mean,
that's
what
where
all
respect
lines
and
is.
dignity comes in. It overrules employment rules and all that kind of stuff.
I know if I was still chief of police, and one of my officers in uniform got down on one knee during the national anthem, I'd be sued probably, but I'd fire him. I'd be sued, but I'd fire him, because when you put that badge on, when you put that uniform on, and you took an oath to protect the Constitution, the laws of this country, when you placed your hand on that Bible and that badge.
Thank you for bringing that up.
That oath says that you're going to do certain things that are above and beyond. One of the things above and beyond is you show respect to our country.
Well, I mean, can you really honestly protect something that you don't respect?
No, you don't respect it if you don't.
Then don't swear to the oath. Don't swear to the oath.
That's right. That's precisely right. And like I said, I don't disagree with anything of what Ross said. Anything, and I know there's always that a pervasive attitude that police officers and lawyers can't get along. That's not right. That's absolutely not right.
Now, look, I said this many times. I swore an oath when I went in the military. I'm not wearing a uniform anymore, and I stick to it. However, I'm a human being like you all are too, and we make mistakes. If our friend or our brother corrects us, hopefully we'll make the change because we're influenced by that. I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm just saying, stick to what you believe and do the best you can, and if you make a mistake, correct the mistake.
I think ultimately it boils down to they have the right to express themselves that way, just like I have the right to say you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You do it.
That's name calling. That's bad. Grow up.
No, I'll grow out.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I mean, they have the right to just and people died for that right. And yeah, it's disrespectful, but honestly, people that are like that, do you care what they think?
But Trey, you're doing a really great thing. You're shaping a lot of young kids with you being a coach. And you want to set a really good example for them. And if you see something, if there's a question mark in their head, you're going to take the time to explain things to them clearly.
That's right. And I can only be responsible for my actions and the actions that I impart to my kids and the kids that I teach.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be responsible for how NFL players act. But when the kids that I teach and my own children have questions, or I see them mimicking that, I can address that. Ask them, why are you doing that? Well, I saw so-and-so doing it. Well, just because you saw so-and-so jump off a bridge, you gonna jump off a bridge? Well, yeah, I like to swim. Really?
Should a teacher teach the topic, or should the teacher teach the topic with his personal opinions and personal doctrine on how things should be?
Or referring to the parent.
Unfortunately, it's really difficult to just teach the topic because everything we do is colored by our own personal filters.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. I get that, but it should be minimized, I would think. Of course, that's going to come out. I get it, but you're not going to want to teach your, if you're, let's just say you got a certain persuasion and you think it's great and you're going to try to influence other people with that persuasion. That's not your place or time to do it. So you have to.
But it is human nature to do it.
It is human nature. But what I'm saying is, the people in positions like that have a bigger responsibility than just somebody on the street.
Absolutely.
Because
But
you got a captured audience.
Unfortunately, we all are human.
All right, we're going to put on the brakes. We're screeching to a halt, and we're going to the topic of government surplus going to law enforcement departments. And here's my quick comment on it, and I'll let the rest of the people say what they want to say. I've got absolutely no problem with it at all, except this one thing. There is a wall between law enforcement and the people of the regular citizenry. And at times, the people of the public get a little fearful of how aggressive law enforcement is becoming or looking, and they have concerns. And my statement is, law enforcement, have at all that equipment, because the way we live in is necessary, but please use it with discretion.
Montgomery County bought a tank.
Tank.
And they drive it around. And it irritates everybody.
Yep.
It makes some people scared. And it's, quite frankly, it's ridiculous.
The thing is, if it were the military that had it, people expect that of soldiers. Because soldiers, they understand, or even if they don't understand it explicitly, there's that whole implication that they're trained to do that. And am I right that you undergo training on how to interact with citizens, non-soldier citizens?
I'm not a cop. I don't know.
No, as a soldier.
Oh, yes.
Okay, you have training on how to interact with citizens. There's a wall between citizens and soldiers, but citizens don't see soldiers with the same kind of fearful lens that we're starting to see police with.
I agree. I totally agree.
And a lot of that is training.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of soldiers that I represent that cannot stand police. I mean, there's a difference.
And I'm not police bashing, and nor is anybody. We're just saying,
I'm just telling you that I've had soldiers. I'm not saying that all soldiers hate police. I'm just telling you.
I talk to law enforcement, they go, no, there's not a wall. And I go, well, you're not living in reality, pal, because there is a wall. Because I'm part of that.
There has to be a wall.
And that's
because if you're going to be a guardian, you have to be able to remove yourself from that. Because especially when you're intervening in two citizens that are at odds.
I got no issue with what you just said, but they can do it in a manner understandable.
And in my experience, a lot of them have. A lot of them do. My uncle was sheriff here in Milam County for many, many years. Before that, he was chief deputy for many years. And I have never heard anybody complain about it.
Let me kind of weigh you on this. I mean, I came from a department where we used the military surplus program, so I've got a little bit of authority on this. You can go overboard or you can go normal with this surplus program. It's called the 1033 program is what it's called. Our police department, the city of Cameron's new police department that was built with about $150,000 to $200,000 worth of goods that were surplus for the military. And you know where those goods were destined for? They were destined for garbage. When they went to pick these items up, so it's not just an issue of military surplus. They went to pick these items up, and then most of the items came from Texarkana at the Army Depot there. They had tons and tons of dumpsters that were filled with Army boots, brand new, still with the tags on them, that they're going to destroy. Our government has made this an issue, not only the police department. Police departments can get any kind of equipment. We had our automatic rifles. You cannot fight a war, in a street war, with a shotgun anymore. You've got to have an automatic rifle in your car to protect yourself and protect your citizens. A city the size of Cameron can't afford that. So what they do, we got M16s. There's a government. They're tracked. You have to keep up with them. You have to qualify with them. Every year you got to report it. We had a chance to get an MRAP. If anybody knows what an MRAP is, I wouldn't allow that to happen here. Can you see? Can you see the citizens of Cameron looking up and seeing a 5.5 or 6 ton armored military truck driving down with police officers in it? This sits 8 foot off the.
I can kind of imagine some of them taking it.
Now, what I would like to have got us to have was there's a smaller version. I don't even know what it's called. That's the same size as almost every city's SWAT vehicle. It's a smaller vehicle, and there's times when we did need that.
Is that the one like Temple's got?
Yes.
I was going to make a comment on that. For the size of Temple, that's appropriate.
Yes.
Or maybe even one of those.
They could have an MRAP in Temple, because it would. And Waco's has an MRAP. Killing's got an MRAP. The bigger cities, yes.
I mean, bigger numbers, bigger odds.
Right.
I would say Killeen probably is justified.
And then the two of them.
That's
More violent.
The thing is, I think repurposing like this is great. We need to, because it shows we're using our resources more efficiently and more effectively. But they should come with training.
Yes.
I mean, you don't let a 16-year-old jump behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler. You have to go through training. You don't let anybody jump behind a wheel of a big vehicle like that. You don't let a 16-year-old jump behind the wheel of a car without training. So why are you going to let an adult jump behind the wheel of what is it, an MRAP?
MRAP's the big one, yeah.
Well, are you going to do that without taking them and say, hey, this is how you use this.
I'm going to jump in here.
Use this.
I got to jump in here. You guys are touching on 2 things: MRAPs and also the training portion. Over in Iraq, the U.S. taxpayers, everybody listening to this right now who pays taxes, has paid for billions of dollars of equipment that's over in the Middle East, Africa, and Europe, just rotting away in the sun. Also over in Korea and no, not Korea.
Not anymore. They got that stuff working.
But I'm telling you what, I saw, if you go to the Temple Mall and you see that parking lot, imagine Hilux, Toyota trucks, MRAPs, Humvees, just sitting out there rotting because we gave that over to those governments. They don't have the proper training. They don't have the proper maintenance plan or anything. So those vehicles, they run them until they die, and then they just drop them or strip them because of poor security measures. We've even lost a lot of this equipment to the enemies that we are supporting because of lack of security, lack of training. This is billions of dollars worth of equipment, and I've seen it firsthand. I sent pictures to you over in Kabul. Now, also, we're talking about a lot of stuff like body armor. We're talking MRAPs, Humvees. They're fantastic. But you were right, Trey, about the training. We got to have the proper training. The MRAP, I hate the MRAP personally. I've lost a lot of guys because they're so top heavy when they roll, especially in a water environment. I lost a whole B team, Special Forces B team, because they were locked and trapped inside. However, it does have thermal. So if you're engaging a terrorist threat or something downtown Killeen, at nighttime you throw that thermal switch on and the IR illuminator, you can see forever, baby. It's beautiful. However, that's like an aggressive platform we're talking about, aggressive equipment. What about the great stuff, the communications, the cyber equipment, the computers? There's a lot of surplus there that our small towns need that equipment.
We here in Cameron, we got 20 laptop computers from the government. Hard drives were removed, but we were responsible for getting the hard drives put in. And 20 sounds a lot, but what you do is you get 10 good ones and you have 10 for parts. And those are tracked. We have to report those every year. You can't, if you get rid of one, you have to let the government know that you're getting rid of it. And you have to do that for like 2 year time period.
Over in Bagram, there was a burn pit. No, it wasn't Bagram. It was in Iraq. As we were pulling out, they were taking computers and just throwing them in the burn pits. It's ridiculous, and it's the taxpayers' dollars. So why don't we bring that back to the community, where sometimes it costs what, about $1 million to try a murder case?
No, I wish.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm saying some of these small towns can't afford that kind of stuff. So we need to pull in as much resources as we can.
When you drive by that police station on 4th Street here in Cameron, you see that fence that goes all the way around it? That fence was government surplus. Those tent-looking things that are sitting up and you can see from the road, those were government surplus.
I remember, Chief, you were the major hand that made that stuff work. You talked it all up. You did what the agreements were, and I remember we did an interview on it. You were awesome doing that job.
And it was a city the size of Cameron. We could not have built that building between grants that I applied for and that surplus. That building would have cost $150,000-200,000 more than what it did.
Some of the communications equipment that you were talking about, though, would not be legal, right, for them to use on a local basis, whereas they could use it on a
You're
foreign
talking
scale.
about radios, all right?
Radios, handheld.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the government won't. The government under the surplus program will not give eavesdropping or ear
Right.
equipment.
And it'd be illegal.
Right.
You guys, it'd be illegal
Yeah.
for police to do
Right.
that.
Well, there's a radio system called the Embedder. It's a handheld, hand carry type radio, and you can download all kinds of security software into it. However, we're giving those out to third world countries. Those things need to come here to law enforcement, where it's reliable instead of a little handheld Motorola that chokes all the time.
Right. And I know that, and this was 20 years ago, and this is not a new thing either. 20 years ago, Temple started their helicopter program when I was still at Temple, and the first helicopter was a government surplus helicopter, Hughes 500.
Talking about helicopters, what about medevacs and medical equipment? The military has so much outdated medical equipment for their purposes, but we could bring it here.
And you can get that.
Yeah.
The thing is, on that 1033 program, you have to have, and I had an officer that I appointed to do that, and sometimes we get a little over aggressive in what you get, but he brought back medical equipment, he brought back tools that were in the dumpster. They'd thrown Snap-on tool chest in the dumpster.
Well, I would rather have the U.S. law enforcement have that equipment more than some Iraqi or Afghan or some Central African Republic moron.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 1-minute break. We're going to regroup here and then get our collective thoughts, finish up, and then after that, we're going to have Master Key talking martial arts to finish up pretty much the hour. So we'll be back in about a minute. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, everybody, to the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program, September 30th, 2017, and we're going to do a last 1-minute comment as to what we've been talking about. Guys, did you want to make any comments before we come out, Master Key?
The only thing I want to say is that when you see people protesting, think about common sense. Would you want your kid doing that?
Good point. My point is about the military surplus coming to law enforcement. U.S. taxpayers paid for it. By God, we ought to have it here in the U.S.
I'm all about, if you're going to protest something, understand what you're protesting. Don't just copy people. Understand what you're doing.
Yeah, I agree with that, Trey. And I want to make a comment about how I support the First Amendment. Go ahead, make your beefs known. I just ask and implore that you do it in a proper manner and respect that which you're kneeling towards. That's all I'm saying.
Seriously, dude. Seriously.
Okay. We're going to take a commercial in.
No, we're going to go right in.
All right, we're going to go right into Master Key doing martial arts.